Welcome to VM Minutes, where we share short tips on essential workplace investigation skills. My name is Eli Makus.
I'm Sue-Ann Dermyden.
And Sue-Ann, today we're going to talk about a situation that comes up with some frequency when we're conducting interviews. And that is a situation where we ask a witness a question, but they don't provide a direct response to our question. And maybe we even try a couple different ways to ask that same question. How do you handle that situation? Does that come up for you?
Yes, in fact, that's really not uncommon. Sometimes it's because the witness or the respondent or the complainant really wants to avoid your question, perhaps because the truthful answer might be unfavorable to them. But sometimes it's just because that is the witness's natural conversational style. If you listen to your own daily conversations, you'll realize we don't often or always talk in very linear ways. We tend to give background and the history, and we may or may not ever circle back around and give a direct answer.
And that can be really challenging if we're trying to conduct an interview in which we need specific information and, more importantly, specific answers to questions that we're asking, especially if we're talking to a respondent, for example, and we're trying to get their response and their information on whether they made a certain comment or engaged in certain conduct. I think it can be tricky to deal with a situation depending on the reason that it comes up. Sometimes, as you said, it may be because somebody just is talking in a nonlinear fashion, or sometimes somebody may want to avoid providing a direct response. But how would you handle this? Let me give you an example. Let's say that you want to know if Bill, the respondent in your investigation, said about Sammy, a colleague, wow, he's a dinosaur. He doesn't even know Excel. He should just retire. And you need to know Bill's response to whether he made that comment or not. However, when you ask Bill the first time, you say, Bill, did you make this comment? And he responds, oh, that doesn't sound like something I would say. And then you ask him again, maybe a little bit differently, and he says, why would I say that? It would risk my job. So now you've asked the question twice. He hasn't given you a direct answer. How would you proceed with that type of interview?
Yeah, I think I would give you three takeaways. One is spend as much time listening to their answers as you did preparing your questions for them. That's one thing that I think can happen is we spend so much time getting ready for the interview and we have our list of questions that we don't always listen to the answer. And so we may miss the fact that he didn't directly answer that question. Two, I would say, let them talk and then follow up on what they do say, because there might be gold in what he's actually offering. Here, I think it would be relevant to go back to Bill and say, when you say you would risk your job, what do you mean by that? So following up on what they're actually saying. And then three, always circle back to the actual question you need an answer to. Bill, thank you for sharing that, but I want to ensure I understand your answer to my question. Did you make this comment to Sammy about a dinosaur in Excel and should you retire? And you may want to frame that in a different way to funnel to it depending on where you are in the interview, but ultimately make sure you circle back to the actual question.
I think those are great tips. And those are tools that we can incorporate into any interview when we're talking with a witness. So thanks for sharing that. And thanks for watching today's VM Minutes. That's a wrap.